Are we populating?
We should be live now.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. I don't see the chat.
You can't see it right now because of the way. I'll bring it up. Don't worry.
Okay. It's always nice to see what those chatters have to say. Say, Eli, what'd you make of the game?
Well, I enjoyed the game. It was a dramatic game. But as always, I remain apprehensive because they really haven't done anything yet. It's a great setup for the playoffs. It's the end of their best regular season in 32 years, and they have better playoff prospects, I think, than the last team that we thought was had a chance to win it all, which is the 91 team. They got a better quarterback now in Goff.
Hold on. I object to they haven't done anything yet. I mean, they just went from 0-10-1 2 years and 5 games ago to 12-5.
I said it's the end of their best regular season in 32 years, but until they win a playoff game and until they win 2 playoff games, they're going to wind up disappointing people. So they really haven't gotten where they need to get yet, although it's been set up rather nicely. They're even sentimental favorites. I think they won over the hearts of America after getting jobbed out of the Dallas game that was so dramatic. Campbell has become a national figure. From this first impression with the bite in your kneecap to the way he was classy in handling the debacle in Dallas. I think Brad Holmes will be the executive of the year if it isn't Sheila Hamp. So it's very exciting. But next week, depending on what happens this afternoon or later on today with the Rams and with the Packers, they could get Matt Stafford in here next week. Ooh. They've only won 6 of their last 7. They rested everybody today, and I'm a bit concerned, as I assume you are too, that 2 very important offensive players. I don't know how bad the Khalif Raymond injury is, but it was ridiculous for them to call Sam LaPorta questionable after he went out with the knee problem. There's no way they're going to send him back into the game today, but at least they didn't say doubtful or out. So there are things to be concerned about, and I'm sure they're celebrating, but very briefly in the locker room because they haven't done it yet. But a very exciting game, and Campbell, true to form, played his starters all the way through, and they pulled it out. So we'll see what happens.
They were kind of acting like, as I was watching the game, they were kind of implying that, what are the Lions doing playing LaPorta and Raymond and St. Brown? And I'm like, wait a second, you're going to play a rookie tight end in a game like this? You can't just play no one.
Got to rest your rookies.
If you're going to sit somebody, I would sit Goff.
Right.
Well, but I think they could have played him for half a game because their position is not going to be changed unless both Dallas and the Eagles lose tonight. That's not going to happen. Though both are on the road. They're playing teams that are 4-12 and 5-11. They're going to beat the Giants and Washington. But this is Campbell's style, and he's true to his way, and that's why people play for him, love him. The fans love him. He goes for it on 4th down. Brilliant play where they a play action. They throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones for 20 yards. It's like what a crazy game. It was 13-6, middle of the 3rd quarter, and then 4 touchdowns scored in the next 8 or 9 minutes by both teams. It's a very dramatic game, but still, and I tell you, it's this artificial turf that just is so. What LaPorta, it's because his foot got stuck in the ground. It's the same way that Aaron Rodgers got hurt 4 plays into the season. And listen, are you concerned at all about LaPorta perhaps missing? What are you showing me there, Brent, that I can't tell?
Sorry about that. I was just showing you Tom Mazaway in the stands live during the game.
Oh, good for Tom.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Eli, and there were some really big plays.
Can you imagine if they didn't play those starters and then Philly and Dallas lost? What would people be saying then? I mean, you have to win this game.
I think they had to play those guys to some degree. I mean, you're waiting for the results. I mean, they're not the margin. Your chances of gaining position and those
Not
teams
good.
losing is not great. But
Right.
I don't know. I really don't like people sitting out starters unless it's the quarterback or something.
Look what Baltimore did.
I understand that.
The Rams tonight, although the game hasn't happened as we're doing the show late Sunday afternoon, their 10 best players from Stafford to Aaron Donald are not playing. Mm-hmm. They say if we're the 6th seed or the 7th seed, so be it. We want to go into Detroit healthy. And I tell you, now I think they should beat the Rams. They should probably be slightly favored over the Rams. What if and I'm not trying to create a dire scenario here. If they lose to Stafford without LaPorta, and James Mitchell drops a ball, you're gonna be. So I'm just saying they haven't done anything yet. I refuse to do backflips after I praise everything listen. It's been an incredible run. This is the most exciting people have felt in a long time, and I tell you, nationally, the whole look of the Lions has changed. This is the first time I think the Detroit fans really have faith in their management, and that's never been uttered. At least I don't recall before this season.
You know how many times today I kept telling Jim as we watched this game that it's so great to have a winning football team. I'm not used to this at all. I mean, we've had a couple seasons where it looked like we might be good throughout my entire life, and in 40 years, I don't know. This is the most excited I've personally ever felt.
Well, we like our coach. We like our owner. We like everything about this team. We like our players. We don't have a lot of scumbags that you accept, even though they're louses off the field or whatever. They all seem like pretty good guys.
You wanted Jalen Carter. That's scumbag.
Well, no, I thought it was.
Listen,
it was certainly
I'm
worth
glad
questioning.
you brought that up because Carter is on the Eagles that started out 10-1, and everybody in Philadelphia now, and I know several people there telling me the team is disjointed. They don't believe in their coach anymore. The locker room is divided. They got the same record the Lions do, but look at the difference. The players love Campbell. The fans love Campbell. Everybody believes in what they're doing. A very, very different feeling. But, Brandon, if I could interject for just a moment here.
Okay.
And I'll get in trouble for this. But football, by definition, is America's #1 religion now. And I know people are going to but 2 through 4 is Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. They're getting crushed. 60 million people go to church or synagogue every week. 230 million game views today, 4 billion game views during the season. Wall Street Journal had a headline how the NFL stole Christmas. 3 games on Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. So although 60 million Americans go to church or synagogue today, there are countless millions more that believe in football. And by the way, I'll just bring this up, not to get too deep into it, but in the early 1900s, football was illegal on Sundays because it distracted from religious observance. In fact, the National Review said a couple of years back, the decline of organized religion in the West has coincided with the rise of modern organized sport. This is our religion. If you watch NFL Red Zone, and you go from stadium to stadium, this is our church, and it is wild, and it's exciting, and it's intriguing. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. It's blasphemy. What's blasphemy?
What, against football?
God's #1, football #2. Let's keep this rolling.
Yeah, it's quite a debate. God versus football.
Did you go to church today, Brandon?
It's certainly a close call.
I had to go to work.
It's so funny because people were required in colonial days to go to church because idleness, drunkenness, gambling, and overdressing were all banned. What is football? Idleness, drunkenness, swearing, gambling, and wearing expensive clothing. That was also banned.
Violence in there.
So listen, I am religious. I have no disrespect for anybody with their religious beliefs. But when you see what football has done and it's just an overwhelmingly American thing, and that's all I'm saying. But I don't know who they're going to play next week. It's going to be an exciting week. I don't know. Is there any news about LaPorta? Anything come out about him from I'm in Florida, so I don't know. But
I'll just say this: he was walking around the sideline, and after he got injured, he didn't look like he was immobilized, but
like a hyperextension. But Jim Bentley.
If you believe doctors on Twitter, the football doctor, he said he thinks hyperextension, maybe LCL, but should be non-surgical, but could miss the playoffs. At least that's the early.
What? Oh, those are Twitter doctors now.
Yeah,
How about Khalif Raymond?
Nah, that didn't look good either. His
looked
left leg got.
Oh, my back.
He looked more injured than LaPorta to me.
Yeah.
And St. Brown was holding his ribs, but there's no way St. Brown sits out that game.
And then he caught a 70-yard touchdown right after it.
Yeah, he did. By the way, should we run down the stats for the game just to put this behind us completely?
Absolutely.
They got outstatted, didn't they? Up and down the field.
Yeah, Nick
You have
Mullins.
stats that are far worse than the ones that I use.
Nick Mullins threw for 396 on 30 of 44. He looked good in both these games. He did have some turnovers, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Ty Chandler, who I think is a great young back. Man, does that guy fly. 12 for 69. Madison was 7 for 24. Nick Mullins, 2 for 8. And Jefferson had the 12-yard loss on the Hutchinson. What a great play that was, held his end.
It was.
Not to mention Hutchinson had 2 sacks beside that. He had a phenomenal end to the season the last 2 games. Justin Jefferson caught 12 for 192 and a touchdown. Seemed like a normal day for him. I mean, honestly.
He's that special.
He is. Johnny Mund had 5 catches for 58. Jordan Addison, 4 for 57. Josh Oliver, 2 for 31. Muse, 1 for 22. Ty Chandler, 2 for 20. And Osborne, 2 for 9. Madison, 1 for 5. And then defensively, let's just bring the Lions up over here. Jared Goff, 23 for 32 for 320 and 2 scores. He'll bring up his quarterback rating. He had a 124.5 rating for the game. Had the big play, of course, in the third quarter to St. Brown, 70 yards, his longest play of the year. David Montgomery went over 1,000. He needed 15. He got 40 on 10 carries.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Jahmyr Gibbs needed 85, and he only got 30 on 13 carries. But both Montgomery and Gibbs had a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 for 144 and a touchdown. And, of course, the longest play of the year, 70 yards. Khalif Raymond, 2 for 50. He had the 1 for 41. That was almost a score. Josh Reynolds, 5 for 44. Sam LaPorta, 5 for 29. And his 10th touchdown of the year. That's 2 rookies that finished the season with 10 touchdowns. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
You said Josh Reynolds got 44 yards?
Yeah.
Amazing, because he needed 35 going into this game to make a $250,000 bonus.
Good for him.
They threw him 2 passes at the end of the game.
They did. They were looking for that money.
Yep.
They also targeted him in the end zone because if he had one more touchdown, he'd get another $250K.
Yeah, they did target him on that one play. Before the sack and the field goal. Sam LaPorta, 5 for 29, 10 touchdowns for him, 10 for Gibbs. Peoples-Jones had 2 for 25. James Mitchell's 1 for 24. That was kind of a big catch. Who knows? He may be playing in the playoffs. Dan Skipper had 1 for 4. And then we had Jack Campbell had a sack. Jack Campbell was as busy as I've ever seen him. 12 tackles, 7 solo tackles, and the 1 sack. And then Hutchinson had 3 tackles for loss. 2 of them were sacks.
Big sacks.
And then they had 1 other sack from, how do you say his name? Levi
Onwuzike?
Yeah, he had 1 sack. So they had 4 sacks altogether. Cameron Sutton had an interception.
That's a great name.
CJ Gardner-Johnson had a pick, too. So he's back.
Yeah.
And Craig Reynolds had 1 return for 26. Raymond, 4 returns for 89. Punt returning.
good.
He was great today. Badgley, 1 for 1 on the field goals from 39. He missed an extra point. And Jack Fox, wow, he's having a
Great today.
Who is the Pro Bowl punter, by the way? Who had a better year than Jack Fox? Whoever it was must have had a great year. Jack Fox had 5
I think
punts.
he is, isn't he? Did he make the All-Pro Bowl team?
I know Maben Reeves made it as a special teams player, but
No, he didn't. Yeah, that's right. No, he didn't. Ragnow, Hutchinson, Reeves, and Sewell made it. Yeah.
53.6 on 5 punts today. So
A.J. Cole from the Raiders and Tommy Townsend from the Chiefs. They were the Pro Bowl.
Well, I can't say Fox was better. I didn't see those guys punt enough. I don't pay attention to punters that much. He had a great year, though. He's a big part of that team. Unfortunately, on the kicking side, I don't know how they got this good this fast without picking up a kicker somewhere along the way, but they didn't. Anyway, it was a good
Can I just add a
performance
couple
today.
things here?
Yeah.
Interesting, too, that LaPorta broke the record for catches by a rookie tight end.
Hell yeah.
Oh, wow.
And his 10th, only Gronk and Ditka have more touchdowns. And I love the fact that they gave the bonus money and they made sure that Reynolds got the bonus money. This is so important in showing belief in your players and showing that you're behind them. You're not worried about the money. You want them to succeed. And I tell you, the reason that it's true to Campbell, remember his first year, they were playing some preseason game. And they barely won, like 27-24, and they celebrated how important it was for them just to win a preseason game. And so with that, desire to just do everything you can to win every game, this is why he had to be true to himself and play everybody today and take the risk. So that's their brand. And like I say, let's see if they can follow it through. Do you care who they'll play? Would you want to see them play the Packers for the third time? If the Packers win and beat the Bears today, and the Rams, although they and the 49ers are keeping a lot of their players out of the game, I'd rather see Stafford just for the excitement of
I want the
having him
Rams.
come back, but it's up in the air. It's 50-50.
I want the Rams. I want them to beat Matthew Stafford. I think that would feel really, really good. And if they have to play the Packers, look, they cannot lose to the Packers. This whole season could you imagine if they lose in the playoffs to the Packers?
Well, you play somebody 3 times. I think you never know what's going to happen. Although they're at home, I'd love to see them play the Rams at home.
Yeah.
I think the Rams are a really experienced postseason team. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. But as far as Goff versus Stafford in postseason, they both have played a lot of postseason football. I don't really fear the Rams, although they're certainly formidable and they're operating on 8 cylinders now. But I think the Lions at home, I would favor the Lions at home for sure in that game.
Nuts at that stadium.
Oh, wow, will that be something? And what a setup, too, to have Stafford coming back home for the first time in a big game like that. That's exciting as hell.
Hell yeah.
I don't think it's going to be the Lions game, but next Saturday night, the 13th, Peacock is going to host a game that America is not going to be able to see. They paid $110 million to air the first exclusive live stream game on the 13th. They're going to announce the teams at the end of Sunday. Can you imagine? And they're confident because this is what I'm saying. Football is so powerful. Last year, every play of the 6 wildcard games averaged 28 million fans viewing each. You know how many people are going to pay $5.99 to see? And you can cancel Peacock after the game if you want. But it's crazy the money. In fact, Peacock is $2.8 billion in losses this year. So even if they get 28 million people to pay $5 each or $6, then it's not going to come close to negating their losses. But it just shows the absolute power of NFL.
Isn't it silly?
Wild.
Isn't it silly to toy with people by putting it on Peacock and forcing people to go through all this bullshit to get on Peacock or to go to a friend's house that has Peacock or whatever? It just seems like really.
Especially for the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're trying to change something, right? Like Peacock's trying to become more involved, so they're slowly easing it in. Well, I don't like it.
Drew, I agree. And I'm going to go back again. I'm going to go back 40 years, okay? Wow. In 1984, Pro-Am Sports Pass came into existence. You could have paid $11.99 a month and seen every Tiger game en route to the World Series. And, very few people bought it because they thought TV is supposed to be free.
Exactly.
And that's why they're supposed to be. Well, it isn't free because we all pay cable bills. We pay streaming bills. We pay up the ass for TV all the time. But that was the theory. And still, there's people going to say, like you, and I don't blame you. I'm going to say the same thing. Fuck you. I'm not paying $6 to watch one game and cancel. How dare you do this? This is supposed to be free to America. But.
Well, I have Peacock, so I'm not really that upset about it personally, but I just think it's crap that people have to jump through hoops to see a playoff game when you've watched the team all year. It's really manipulative.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's going to be in the hometowns or not.
Right.
That's a good question.
We still might get it. If it's on Peacock because of it being on home, it would probably still be on Fox.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, but. Anyway, any case, I agree with you. It's shitty.
So now I know that the Jaguars blew it today. They are not in the playoffs.
Amazing.
What are the other final spots that are up for grabs, and what has to happen? Does anybody have a grip on that?
Yeah, a little bit. By the way, they lost that game. I was watching it on the Red Zone. They get the ball back with they have no timeouts left. 4th and 1. And they could have tied the game, and Trevor Lawrence on a quarterback sneak reaches the ball over, and it's about 1/10 of an inch short of the goal line, and that's how they lose. And in losing that, instead of winning their division, they're out of the playoffs, and the Steelers, who won last night, are in. Mm-hmm. The Bills now, if they lose at Miami, are in. They would have been out otherwise. Oh. And Texas, behind the great C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, a Buckeye and a Wolverine, teaming up.
Who'd have thought?
for a big Texas victory, then Texas would be the AFC South champs. And I like C.J. Stroud now that he doesn't have a scarlet and gray jersey on anymore. He's had an incredible rookie year, tremendous.
And how about the Colts marching down there at the end of the game behind Jonathan Taylor? And they were I was like, what, am I watching a Michigan game right now? It's Jonathan Taylor up the middle for 4, Jonathan Taylor for 4, Jonathan Taylor for 3. And they get to 4th and 1, and I thought, well, you've been riding Jonathan Taylor down the field the whole way. You got to give him the ball, right? No, he's off the field, and they throw a little out pass to what was the running back's name? Dotson or something?
Gibbons?
I can't even remember. He's caught 6 balls all year, and he drops it. Gardner Minshew did not lead him, but he should have caught the pass. It was not that bad a
Tyler
pass.
Goodson.
Yeah,
okay.
Tough finish, man.
And so Jimmy Irsay and the Colts have to go home for another option. I don't know what they would have done in the playoffs, but I don't know. How do you ride Jonathan Taylor that whole game and not give him the ball there? Were you guys watching it?
Yeah, and I didn't think it made sense to me.
Were you expecting to see Taylor up the middle for 1 yard?
Yeah, I guess, but that play didn't surprise me. He was wide open. He could. I mean,
he was open.
He was wide open. It was a perfect play for 1 yard.
Call. Yeah.
Is it when Marshawn Lynch did not get the handoff by Seattle and they threw a pass that was intercepted, handed the Super Bowl to Brady?
Yeah.
By the way, this is what I was saying. Last thing I was saying with the Lions, the number one piece of swag, of paraphernalia in town is the T-shirt for $35 at Rally's saying NFC North 2023 champions. Mm-hmm. What good is that T-shirt when it's the North? If they win what good is that fucking T-shirt?
I don't know, Eli.
Again, when the Tigers won the East, it was such a big deal in '84. They made these mugs and these T-shirts, AL East champions. That was useless the next week when they went on to win the pennant.
You're in a conference. You're in a conference with You're in a conference with 3 other teams, and you want a T-shirt because you won the conference. That seems stupid to me. I mean,
when was the last time we never had that T-shirt? It's the first time we've ever had the chance to have that T-shirt.
It's only $35, by the way. What is deal for it?
I'll get the Super Bowl T-shirt.
Yeah. They're heading there.
I mean, I guess there's no T-shirt for winning the first playoff game, so is that the only T-shirt you can get without winning the Super Bowl? I mean,
NFC North champions.
Even NFC champions doesn't do much for me. We want to win the Super Bowl, right?
I promise you, in the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, when they win the NFC, that'll be the hottest T-shirt in town. It'll be $50 for that one.
No, Super Bowl memorabilia is really cool. I mean, if you're at the game and people are buying, like in 2006. That was very cool. It's historic.
Stupid present.
It's pretty stupid. I know, you're right. Do you want to show Eli the plane load of people going to the Michigan game in Houston, Brandon?
I know. Isn't Fellauer? Fellauer went today, right?
Mark is there. Matt Riley is there. This is the plane, Eli. Hopefully you can see this. The young lady.
Got it, Eli?
Yeah.
With the Michigan gear.
1, 2. You know what to do. Hail to the victor.
What a cult!
I don't see a lot of diversity in this cult.
It's
Pretty weak.
Michigan spends $15 million a year on their DEI department. I don't know.
1.
There's a lot of senior citizens.
Shouldn't there be some DEI tickets given out or something? I mean, look how white that plane is. Holy crap. Old.
This shows the faith and devotion to spend the money, to spend a couple grand a ticket, go to Houston, find a hotel room, get to the game, come back. And it's at home, and it's an 80-inch TV, and it's perfect. But people, man, it's just amazing. I can't get over how deeply people are into football and how exciting it truly is. I mean, this game tomorrow night, how are you going to, first of all, I think Michigan I feel like are so lucky to be there by not that they're not great, but think of the thinnest of margins that got in there. First of all, they could have lost to Ohio State if Ryan Day hadn't coached such a shitty game. Mm-hmm. JJ, that first pass of the game, lucky. He intercepted the 2 muffed punts. The one by Jake Thaw near the end that he caught at and flipped the 5. It's behind him, and for some reason at the 2-yard line, it started spinning sideways. If it had just bounced the other way, they lose the damn game. And so, and on the play, I think the biggest play that I can recall with the greatest import in 60 years as a Michigan fan was when Roman Wilson cuts across the field and that defensive back, what's his name? Deontay Lawson gets the fingertip. He had been spying on JJ, fingertip on the ball. It rises about a foot, and then little Roman Wilson leaps as high as he can. With one hand, he brings it in. The other one, and it goes another. So these thin margins, and it would have been, had they lost that game, they easily could. It would be, what's going to happen to Harbaugh? Is JJ coming back? And instead, JJ is the offensive player of the game.
It's still what's going to happen to Harbaugh.
Yeah, people still want to know if he's going to leave after this.
They did 10 minutes on all of Harbaugh's NFL options before the football game today. He's talking to this team, that team, this team, that team. I'm like, what? Really? Already? He's got a new agent and so on and so forth. Of course, this is probably them just speculating.
I'm Jim Harbaugh.
You know, I have a friend who's very close to one of the biggest donors at Michigan, who I know, but I don't talk to him that often, who gives tens of millions, I think, over the years. And all he can say is it's 50-50. And the reason it is that he says 50-50 is because it is. I think so much can change, whether Harbaugh wins this game, loses this game. And don't forget, he got laughed out of San Francisco as coach there. The players thought he was a joke by the end. How his more, how does he say, more enthusiasm than anybody alive, or whatever the hell it is. And he didn't treat them like professionals. He treated them like college kids. Now he's adjusted. He's changed. He changed at Michigan. He gave more responsibility to his coordinators. He gave the players a greater voice. So perhaps he's changed, but I'm not 100% sure that these are more than just little soirees, and that he's going to go to the pros and turn down $125 million for 10 years. Then again, he's got 20 players, they say, potentially that could be drafted. And so he's going to have to rebuild, but he's done it before. He's the greatest turnaround artist around. He turned around Stanford from a 1-win team. He turned around San Francisco, which hadn't gone to the playoffs, and he turned around his own team. So he's just this confounding, crazy dude. He's crazy like Woody Hayes without the haymaker. You just can't figure out where he's coming from.
I can't find anyone who's picking Washington to win this game. By the way, not that
sure there are. Really,
really, a lot of people picking Washington.
I think so. I think it's basically 50-50. How can you figure out it's this high flying, pass crazy team versus this grinded out, run heavy team that Michigan? They're total opposites. And what I don't get is they win the Joe Moore Award. Washington does, the best offensive line in America, and they don't run the ball very much. So who can figure that out? And they don't stop the run that well because Texas got 180 yards. So Michigan is I don't think they're going to run 32 plays in a row on the ground that they did against Penn State. But the thing I'm worried about is if Washington scores early. If Penix capitalizes with a big play or two and they take the lead, it could force Michigan kind of into overdrive. And I want them to have, I want it to be a reasonably even game in the beginning so they can get the run game established, don't have to get to the pass too early, and they can get some pressure on Penix because Texas couldn't. They didn't sack him at all. So I think Michigan's got better lines, even though Washington pass protects well, but they don't run well. And I think the Michigan offensive line can do both. So,
man, I'd like to see JJ throw for 500 yards for once. I'd like to see them just open it up like crazy. I know it's not going to happen, but if they fall behind, they will. Washington, by the way, has Dylan Johnson has 1,162 yards rushing, 16 touchdowns. I mean, it's like a Blake Corum type year, 22 catches, and they throw the ball so much, though. It got let's see, what's their passing total for the year? Penix has thrown for 4,700 yards, 35 touchdown passes.
4,700?
And he's got three guys that are NFL caliber receivers. Rome Odunze, who's great. Jalen McMillan, Jalen Pope. These guys are all good. And they're going to concentrate on Odunze. And I think the other guys are going to have a big game.
Yeah, Polk's 65 catches for 1,120 yards, 9 touchdowns. Odunze is 87 for 1,553 and 13 touchdowns. And McMillan has 39 for 526 and 4 touchdowns. But Jack Westover has 41 catches, and Jeremy Bernard has 34 for 419. I mean, they just litter the ball all over the field. Dylan Johnson, the running back, has 22 catches. Yeah. They just throw the ball so much and for hunks of yards. So I'd love to see an exciting, wide open game. I have a feeling Michigan will just slow it down and bore it down to a 20-17 win or something like that because they just do it over and over.
Speaking over and over, I would take the under. It's 55-5. I would take the under.
Is that 55-5? Is it 50?
Yeah.
55?
Yeah, high school.
Oh, God. That's...
Washington has 9 players in their 6th year. So I'm reading this column by Phil Mushnick in the New York Post. He goes, Washington's Indiana transfer star quarterback Michael Penix said after Monday night's exciting win over Texas, "I ain't no quitter." A reader writes in, "No kidding, you've been in college for 6 years. You're no quitter."
He has been around forever. I mean, I feel like I remember at Indiana 5 years ago at least. But they score a lot of points, and they've beaten some good teams, too. They beat Oregon twice. I mean, Oregon's a great team. Yeah. That's the team with, what's his name, Bo Nix, who I think is a fantastic quarterback. And they beat them by the slimmest of margins twice. They beat Utah 35-28. They beat USC 52-42. They beat Texas 37-31. I mean, they've played some great teams this year.
High-scoring games, man.
Very much so. Beating Oregon twice, though, I think is probably their biggest achievement. That was a really good team. I thought, honestly, if Oregon had beaten Washington, I would have felt like Oregon had done enough to be in they wouldn't have made the Final Four, but I would have felt like they were a Final Four team. They were that good. Anyway, what an exciting game. I mean, I can't just seeing that the people on that plane singing really brought it home to me. I wasn't that excited.
Oh, I got another video.
So excited.
I got another video. This is back from when Eli was at Michigan.
I love this.
This is what he was doing back then.
Yeah, this is the dance mix version of the Victors.
Eli's in there, isn't he?
Yeah, he's right there.
Eli's dancing in the back somewhere, isn't he?
Yeah.
Those are the gay victors. That's hilarious.
Look at that dance. How old is that guy? It looks like they're wearing he's wearing a soccer uniform.
To be
a Michigan Wolverine.
Here's Eli. Look at him.
A Michigan Wolverine.
How thin I was back then.
You look great. You were so...
Who's got it any better than us? Nobody.
Too funny.
Oh, I want to hear more. Wait, keep playing it. This is great.
Hail, hail to Michigan, the leaders and best. Hail to the victors valiant. Hail to the conquering heroes. Hail, hail to Michigan.
What? This is the most self-important theme song I've ever heard. Fight song.
These people practice this too.
Oh, yeah, there's like how many people? 30?
How many were there, Eli?
How many there, Eli?
There were so many. It was just so much fun. So much fun.
What do they have stirrups on? What are those?
Yes,
you see
baseball
that?
stirrups. Yes.
Oh, that's singing too. That's much better than on the plane, though.
Has anyone sung a fight song quite like this? I've never heard anyone fall in love with their university like this.
These fucking uniforms.
Too much.
Go blue.
Well, so Monday night will be exciting, and Tuesday's going to be exciting when Aaron Rodgers, A-Raj, reappears on the Pat McAfee show.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up.
Is he going to? Is he going to apologize? Is he going to see if we said on our show, which we do from the basement of a guy's house, meaning Drew, we could say stuff like, "There's a lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, that are really hoping he's not on the Epstein list." But when you say it on ESPN, which has now gone from highlights, you understand, because now that everybody can see highlights on their phone, they stop running SportsCenter 20 hours a day. It's only on a few times, and they have a lot of talk. And so they hiring Pat McAfee for $85 million was controversial. An X-rated show, really, although I think don't they bleep him out on ESPN?
It's not X-rated. There's a little bit of swearing here and there.
There's swearing, which is surprising, though, to see it on ESPN, to see him say shit and to have the F word in a graphic. It was like, whoa, hey, well, it's ESPN. So in a way, I was kind of shocked by that, but in another way, it's like, okay, man, it's 2024, get over it.
I have to tell you, I was really, I don't know if I was impressed, shocked. I don't know what I was, but seeing Pat McAfee say that there were insiders who were trying to sabotage him, I don't. I mean, I believe that. I 100% believe that because we saw it with Joe Rogan at Spotify, all these little weenies, all these powerless weenies and middle managers like, oh, you can't say that on Spotify. I mean, as this guy basically pays their checks. And in Pat's case, he's paying a lot of these guys checks too. He's a very important hire for ESPN. But play the clip where Pat is calling out Norby Williamson.
Norby Williamson, yeah.
Among others, for trying to sabotage the show. They released some lower than actual ratings for his show, which is like, why would anyone at ESPN do that? It's ridiculous. And he's suggesting he knows who it is.
Anyways, we're very appreciative, and we understand that more people are watching this show than ever before. We're very thankful for the ESPN folks being very hospitable. Now, there are some people actively trying to sabotage us from within ESPN. Funny. More specifically, I believe Norby Williamson is the guy who is attempting to sabotage our program. I'm not 100% sure. That is just seemingly the only human that has information, and then somehow that information gets leaked and it's wrong, and then it sets a narrative of what our show is, and then are we just going to combat that from a rat every single time? I don't know. But like, somebody tried to get ahead of our actual ratings release with wrong numbers 12 hours beforehand. That's a sabotage attempt, and it's been happening basically this entire season from some people who didn't necessarily love the old edition of the Pat McAfee show to the ESPN family. Sure. There's a lot of those. We've heard them anonymously quoted in the Washington Post, in the New York Post, in the New York Times, in the LA Times, in Wall Street Journal. And they're never like, yeah, love the show. This is awesome. It's always like little things to try to tear us down. So even with the enemy within our own camp, somebody that I don't like that guy. That guy left me in his office for 45 minutes, no-showed me in 2018. So this guy has had zero respect for me. And in return, same thing back to him for a long time. So even with that taking place and potential PR, like we're still growing somehow. Yep. So we're very thankful. Yeah.
Who is this turd Norby Williamson, by the way?
He has been there for some 40 years, and he has pissed off a lot of. Jamel Hill wrote in support of McAfee, saying that it could be Norby, like, you're not far off, or maybe that's right. Yeah, this Michelle Beadle, who was also paid off, said the same thing. But here's what it was. The New York Post was the one that reported. It said, since the inception of McAfee's show in the fall, Stephen A. Smith and First Take are handing McAfee a 583,000 viewer lead-in, and McAfee is maintaining just 302,000, which is a 48% drop. Now, why somebody from ESPN would sabotage his own show is one thing.
Because they don't like him.
But look at ESPN. They also are Jimmy Kimmel's boss. So you got Jimmy Kimmel, who is furious with Rodgers for mentioning the Epstein list. And Rodgers, by the way, is a famous grudge holder. In fact,
hold on.
Rodgers?
Time out. Time out. I just want to point one thing out. Jimmy Kimmel has been trashing Rodgers for over a year
on late night TV, publicly,
and he's a big part of the Pat McAfee show. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought what Rodgers said was stupid. He was obviously kidding. It wasn't really a funny thing to kid about, but nonetheless, I mean, it's one thing to rag on Jimmy Kimmel. I understand that, but Aaron Rodgers is a significant part of this show, and this show is more successful than they're leading on. Why are they leaking shittier than real numbers? Who does that to their own show?
Well, you're saying that what McAfee is saying is 100% correct.
It is true.
Maybe it's not. Have we seen the actual numbers?
Yes, they're significantly better. They're up from what he replaced, and they were leaking numbers that were. I guess you have certain overnight numbers, and then you have the real numbers that follow. The real numbers were significantly better. Why would you leak the shittier numbers?
Good point. And also, his show lasts a lot longer, so it's harder to maintain an audience. So you're maybe going to have less at the end than the beginning. Who knows? But yes, it makes no sense that you would demean your own product.
Well, this guy controls a lot of stuff, and I'm assuming that McAfee doesn't like
McAfee.
it. Oh, it's McAfee. Sorry, but he calls his own shots, right? The show goes how he wants it, and I have to assume Norby, who I'm assuming is really Norbert. doesn't like it. He feels like he's losing some power.
Yeah, a lot of people at ESPN don't like that Pat has a show that's unique, that does things the other shows don't do, like has guests like Aaron Rodgers on who
Isn't that
make
a good
jokes
thing?
about COVID and vaccines, which actually a lot of what Aaron Rodgers was saying about vaccines, which Jimmy Kimmel was calling him a tinfoil hatter and stuff, turns out that Aaron Rodgers wasn't that far off at all. So, I don't know. I feel like what he said about Kimmel was absolutely stupid, but for him to sit there and just take shit from Jimmy Kimmel, the monologue's been blistering about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But it's just a joke.
You know, when you say something like that on national television, and you know, when the far right makes comments like that, people with guns get very serious and angry with him, and that's why Kimmel is seriously, I believe he's right. He says, your reckless words put my family in danger. Keep it up and we'll debate the facts further in court. So all Rodgers has to do, it's toxic. It's very dangerous with an audience that large. Like I said, if we do it from your basement with no ESPN above us, we can get away with that stuff. I've said stuff on this show that I regret, but we don't have the power of ABC behind us and all that. So I'm just curious what happens tomorrow. Is he going to apologize? Is he going to, is McAfee?
McAfee.
Is McAfee? What's his name? Coffee? Is this McAfee? Is this McAfee?
He's issued.
Do people know why we're laughing at this? Because Brandon's last name is McAfee.
It's not funny.
He's issued a kind of a generic apology. How much more he'll say about it? Aaron Rodgers sounds like he said, "I can't wait to hear what Aaron says about this," which is his way of saying that Aaron is coming back, and you're not going to fucking take Aaron Rodgers off my show.
And it's going to get big
Oh, you
ratings.
shouldn't. You
Good for him.
shouldn't. He should just apologize. Now, the Mike Foss, who's the executive from ESPN, not Norby, said Aaron made a dumb and factually inaccurate joke about Kimmel. It should never have happened. We all realize that in the moment. So we'll see. You know what? He's going to have a lot of viewers on Tuesday.
Yep.
He's going to definitely beat
will.
First Take on Tuesday.
You got it.
All right. Anyway, New Year's resolutions are tough. Diet, exercise, smoking. It takes daily vigilance. So resolve to let Dr. Yaldo finally take care of your vision problems. It won't take all year. It'll just take minutes. Call him, sign up online, a quick and painless procedure, and you're good for life. You're past 40, you hate your reading glasses. Get these bifocal implants. They last a lifetime. I got a pair, and I use them more than the other pair now that I'm 73. But it's the same procedure as cataract surgery, done millions of times and completely safe. They're clear view lenses. They're amazing. And I tell you, my vision is perfect. One phone call to Dr. Yaldo, 398-EYES, or YaldoEyeCenter.800-398-EYES, YaldoEyeCenter.com. Take care of it. See perfectly for the rest of your life without glasses, contacts, or readers.
All right, man.
And I'm out of here.
Get out of here.
A lot of fun today, guys.
All right, Eli. We'll talk to you soon. Can't wait for the
See you,
playoffs.
Eli.
Time for Tubby Bye Bye. Time for Tubby Bye Bye.
How was the